Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How could that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. Welcome back once again. Tell you what, this time I've got nautical suspenders and tie on and all of that sort of thing for a very good reason. I'm going to create an island, actually a whole wonderful island in a parsnip sea. By the way, I don't know whether I'm saying anything I shouldn't do. I didn't look it up in the International Flag Registry. You might like to look it up as the program goes on and drop me a note, because I'd love to know. All right, we've been sending out other things that I'd love to know, and that is the individual food preference sheet. And as you must know by now, if you've seen one of these programs, we actually print one of these blank sheets right there in the book that goes with the series. And that way you get to know the kind of cooking methods and recipes that you really like, and those who you love in your family, what they really like. And this was mine. But I took one from a lady by the name of Tess Fields. Now, Tess Fields, let me introduce you to Tess. This is Tess. Tess is actually in the business of the herb. She actually has a herb farm. She loves the idea of good food, which is also healthy, and if it isn't healthy enough, well, it's got to be good. You know, she says that with strong emphasis. She likes to fiddle with food in a wonderful way. By the way, her ethnic background is American, until it peters out and she can't hear where she actually came from before that. Well, why not? You know, jolly good, Tess. Now, what we're going to do is look at some of your favorite foods. So I did an extraction from your plan and was fascinated by some of the things that you like. USA Northwest and French, especially sort of French. You sort of made it very clear that you like French food. And I always interpret that as on the creamy side, you know. Steaming is your #1 method of cooking. That's really unique, and I'm thrilled about that. Vegetables from your garden, well, you know, you have your own garden, come on. Rosemary and thyme and et cetera, all kinds of herbs. All meats, but you also wrote down tofu. Do you realize that's the #1 most disliked food in the United States? Isn't that shocking? I think most people have never tasted it. They just think, if I'm going to be asked that question, I'm going to say tofu. Little do they know, eh, Tess? And beans as well. Papaya was on there. And parsnips. You made a big deal about parsnips and saffron. So I took a snapshot of that and did this crazy dish just for you, okay? And by the way, at home, if you like this kind of food and whole grains and all that kind of stuff, this is really something else. Come through. Now, always what we do here is the, springboard idea. So you bounce up and down on a basic idea and concept, do your own dive with your own ingredients into your own circumstances. So let's have a look at this first of all. This is my last book, and in that book I actually had an illustration which showed the basic 4 food groups that were these here. And it makes it look as if they're equal, and really they're not. And so just recently we've come out with what we call the food pyramid, and that's a brilliant idea. And what it does, it says that everything below the line there, below that line there, which is fruit, vegetables, whole grains, breads, and everything else, and like I'm going to do today, that should comprise about 2/3 of all the calories you eat. So if you're on 2,000 calories a day, that would be, say, 1,300 calories. And then 700 calories would come from the top. So this is fat and oil and those things which we know about, the meats and the fish and all that stuff. So that goes on the top. So that actually makes up the food pyramid. Now, since all of that stuff at the bottom there is complex carbohydrate, I thought I'd show you some really complex carbohydrates. How about these? Look, this is millet. It used to come from North Africa where it's a staple. This is brown rice. That's the only grain with vitamin E in it. Wild rice here. This is quinoa. You might have heard of that. It's a fabulous new grain. It's actually related to spinach and to Swiss chard. This is pearl barley, and very good in very high fiber, soluble fibers. And this in the center is a wheat berry, and this is Bulgar wheat. Now, the really interesting thing is most of these take quite a long time to cook, except for the quinoa, which is very quick, as you'll see today, and also the Bulgar wheat, which is derivative. It's actually probably the first processed food in the whole history of the world, because they took wheat berries like that and cooked them and then spread them out to dry in the sun. And that was the Bulgar. You just pour water on top of it, and it just sort of resuscitates itself. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put all of those together. Now, what happens when you actually cook these is this. Each one of these grains absorbs the liquid in which it's placed. So obviously if it's a seasoned liquid, you're going to get more value into the grain itself. So what I do, and I've just taken ordinary rice here, you season the water, you actually cook the rice, and you cook it about halfway through. And then you put it into a sieve on the top like this, and then let it steam. Now, in that second, so if you actually tasted it in the first part, you would taste it and bite a little piece, and it'd be very crisp. But once you've steamed it and you've placed a lid on the top to contain the steam on it there, each one of those little grains becomes puffy and separate and wonderful, So this time, just think of this technique and using lots of grains in a dish, and I'll show you how you can get to that real 2/3 of carrots from the bottom of the pyramid. Okay, ready? Okay, let's see what's on the menu today.
Today on Graham Kerr's Kitchen, whole grain island on a parsnip sea. 5 whole grains steamed over rosemary, served on creamy parsnip and saffron sauce.
All right, Tess, well now, you thought the parsnip that your neighbor was cooking was weird, and you let it go 2 years before having a go at it. Now, let's show how it actually gets fitted in. This is a parsnip, you guys. A parsnip that is a good parsnip is like this one. It's like a large carrot, if you will, with a bit more bulbous around the shoulder. And you peel it just exactly the same way that you peel a carrot. But you could, by chance, get one this big. If you get one this large, there is a problem with it. And I mean, it's very good flesh, but you're going to have to do some throwing away. And the throwing away part is this heavy core in the center. It really doesn't cook at the same temperature as the rest of it does. So if you follow the outline of the core in there, never cut towards you, and just follow it down like that, and then just break the outside part away from it, you'll find that this does perfectly well. It's the outside part that you'd use. Now, basically, come on, buy little parsnips rather than big ones. That's the big score. Okay, so when it's been actually trimmed, you might want to know what it tastes like, which is going to taste sweet. So I'm going to tell you that. It's a sweet, there's no sweet, nutty, I love it. It's great stuff. 1 teaspoonful only of oil. 1, 2. There's the 2 little things. This is quite hot at the moment. And just drop in a pound of parsnips. That's a pound that you weigh in after they've been peeled, all right? So just about a pound, 2 or 3 ounces like that. That should do it. Now, nice and hot, because of the sugar content in the parsnip stuff, get back in there, you'll find that it browns up beautifully, and that's what I want to do. I want to brown the thing in order to be able to get that kind of caramel, sugary taste involved at the same time. Okay. Now, here is just a couple of sprigs of rosemary, all right? Now, rosemary grows wonderfully all year round, so there's no excuse for this. Well, of course, how would you have me tell you there's no excuse? That's a ridiculous thing to say, you know. If you don't want to grow it, fine. If you want to buy it, it's expensive. Grow it. Put that down into the top, in amongst the sautéing pieces. See how they're browning nicely there now, and the rosemary kicks up in the middle of that and smells fabulous. Piece of muslin, and let's see how we go here. Now we have to create a muslin bag full of flavor. And for this I just want to do some bruising. So I don't want to pound that completely, but I want to make sure that 3 cloves of garlic are broken open so that I can get lots of value out of it. Now, inside this piece of muslin, I've got a couple of bay leaves here, and 3 or 4 pieces of thyme, and you can use dried thyme instead, or dried rosemary. Rosemary does well as well when it's dried. And 4 pieces of rosemary. As you can see, lots and lots of aromat. Now, all you do is just tie the simplest of knots here. Good. There we go. Just tie it, because the whole idea is to be able to, oh, I know, now I know why it was that big. Take all the parsnip peel that you've got on one side that you did the peeling on, and then now just simply knot it like so, and then knot it again the other side, and tuck it all in tight, and bash it. Literally bash it. It will become green on the outside when you've done it. You'll see little bits of green starting to poke through. It'll smell wonderful because of the garlic. Whoa! Imagine putting that under your pillow. Put you to sleep. And then just drop that down, and that is going to flavor the water. Now, the water is just 6 cups of water. Let me show you what you put in the water. First of all, as we looked at earlier, oh, I'm just going to give these a bit of a shake so that they don't brown. I want them to brown, but I don't want them to burn. So those are going well. That piece that fell on the floor, I just squished it. But there we go. Here is the brown rice. Now, that's the one which has vitamin E in it, just a little. And so we just drop that down into there. There's half a cup of that. Half a cup of the pot, in this case, pearl barley. All right, just drop that in there. Then a quarter of a cup, half the quantity because it's so expensive. This is the wild rice, all right, from Minnesota. Just drop that in. And then the wheat berries. Now, the wheat berries must be soaked overnight if they're going to cook at the same time as everything else. That means it's very labor intensive. You just put water on top of it and leave it, all right? It doesn't take long. Just do it the night before. And then take half a cupful and just pop those in as well. Now, all of those will cook at exactly the same time. What you do is you put the lid on, let them go to a gentle boil, and then after 28 minutes, just set the timer, they're going to look like this little lot here. Now, obviously, what's happened here is that the water has got soaked up, and it's aromatic and wonderful, and this is the herb bag which you've got in it. And then to this, you add the last of the grains. Now, this is the quinoa that I showed you earlier. Remember, I said that it was a very quick cooking one? Well, this is really quick, because you put this in, and the reason I said 28 minutes, because I wanted to cook it for 30 minutes together. So this extra 2 minutes now is the amount of time that it takes just to put the quinoa in there, make sure that it's damp in the center, keep the herbs in all the time, and there. And just give that 2 minutes. All right, now, after the 2 minutes that I've had, this is, oh, let me do this first of all. I think you'll follow this easier if I do it this way. Now, with these parsnips, you see how nice and brown those are now, and with the rosemary in the pan, don't they look gorgeous? And the smell is wonderful that comes off. Pop those into the top of a steamer, because you don't want to cook them all the way through there. They'll desiccate too much. But so in this time, what's going on here is they just take 30 minutes, all right? 30 minutes to steam through until they're butter soft, so that you could actually take a hold of them, and you could just press your fingers against them like that and squeeze your fingers, and in a moment they're gone. That's how tender you want them to be. Okay, again, not much to watch out. Just set the timer. Now, just imagine that that's been done now. Now, underneath this, I have these grains in here. In order to follow this properly, remember, 2 minutes here, and then tip those into the top of the steamer. And I put some muslin in there in order to save them from dropping through. But then that gets an extra 15 minutes of steaming, and they are totally perfect. Right, put the lid on there, keep those hot in just a moment. I'll be back to those in just a sec. But first of all, let's look at the parsnips. Remember, they take half an hour. And so, hey, they wind up in here. Isn't that amazing? And well, I put these in here so that they would keep warm. These have had the half an hour. They're butter soft in that steaming. And this is such a great idea. You've really got to try this. You know, it is luscious. Now take these caramelized, soft, tender parsnips and put on top of that 2 cups of evaporated skimmed milk. That's the stuff you get in a tin, all right? Just put 2 cups on the top. This really couldn't be simpler. Watch this. A little dusting of saffron that I like to add because it helps to make it a lovely yellow color. That's about 1/16 of a teaspoonful. And then a really good, about 1/4 of a teaspoonful of freshly ground white pepper. Give it a bit of a zip. And some salt as well. I don't think you need much salt, but about that, enough. All right, now, lid goes on the top. This is one of these food processors. And then you just turn that on, and you let the thing whiz around. Now, it whizzes until it goes to the most incredible creamy mix you've ever seen. Here, let's get back to these grains again. You just lift these out, and they're so perfect. You look, by steaming, they don't get waterlogged, you see, and you don't have to worry about them catching on the bottom. You can leave them on the top here to be able to come out perfectly. Great. Now, forgive me if I don't do all of that. Put 2 cups of peas onto that, and just turn those peas into that boiling hot rice. That will take those peas, although those peas are just defrosted from frozen, they'll do just wonderfully. And a tablespoonful of lemon juice over the top, just to kick it off and make it feel good. A little bit of black pepper you can put into this because it's got the wild rice in it and it won't show. All right, so that's good. Great. Smells one, and so separate. That's what I love about it. Now, here, I must tell you that Tess is a great one at decorating food and making it look wonderful. And she loves doing that. So, Tess, this is just for you. You get one of these rings, which is Teflon coated, all right? Put that on the top there. Very inexpensive. You can buy them all over the place. And we'll just put that down in the top. And if you don't have one of these strainers, that doesn't matter. You can do it with a spoon. And in fact, I will do it with a spoon just to show you. Just put it over the top and just press it down tightly. And it needs to be pressed down tightly for a reason that you'll see in just a moment. Take the bits and pieces and remove those from the trays so that you don't have them lying around. Okay? That's looking good. Now, stop. This takes about 3 minutes, by the way. And at 3 minutes, you will be absolutely amazed at what you've got. Get a hot plate out of the oven and show you. It's like one of the creamiest, softest, most delicate sauces. Slightly sweet because that's where it's coming from. And all you do is you create your sea now. All right? So look at it. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that, would you? It's remarkable. Then you take the ladle and just do this, and you create your sea on the plate. See how easy that is? Just put the sea like that. Now this is the bit which gets a little tricky. You've got to launch your island. First launch your island. All right, get that straight like that. Put that across the top there, and just push it down and on top. And you have launched, oh, well, a slight avalanche on one side, but that's a random pea. And then put a little scoop of the sauce on the top, and then, oh, I'm going to put that on the last time. I want an island that I can see. See, I'm a sailor, and I love islands that have a little something about them which separates them from everything else. That, by the way, is cayenne pepper, which is not on the average island. And then a little black pepper over the outside because it adds textural and interest over the thing. Looks good. Right, now here goes. One Tree Island. So we stick the rosemary on the top. Okay, and so this becomes the dish. It is virtually a full grain island with the peas in it, which help to make it a complete protein. And then the sea around the outside with this sweet, luscious French-style sauce. It tastes wonderful. Come through and I'll see. Now, this is exactly half the size of the actual portion. I wanted, for Tess, I just wanted to create that sort of, you know, the island on the sea. What you can do is make a well of that rice. You know, like pile the rice on the plate, make a well in the center, and then fill the sauce in the middle, and then just spoon it up. It is the most delicious thing. Okay, well, I'll tell you about that later. This is compared with this classic here. Now, this is parsnip and celery over rice, and it has a cream sauce in it. Let's compare the two together. There's 555 calories in the classic. We go up a bit here, 652, because we're putting an awful lot of grains into this dish. Fat is 24. Now, that's where the calories are coming from in the classic. In this case, we only have 6 grams of fat in total, and only 1 in saturated fat compared with 15, which means the total of this dish is 8% of calories from fat, extremely low. Cholesterol is only 5, sodium only 472, and carbohydrate, of course, is way up because that's what we're doing. The bottom of the pyramid, 128. See how it tastes. Now, I love this. I mean, I got so excited about this. When I ate this for the first time, I put it in my mouth, my eyebrows disappeared. I went, and immediately everybody said, let me taste it too. If you're reacting like that, it must be fantastic. Ah, wow. I mean, this is just, whoopee, you know, kind of Popeye stuff. I mean, it's just wonderful food. And please, I know there's no meat in there, no great big bleeding steak, but, full grains, bottom of the pyramid, you know. So 8%. Anyway, apart from that, it's jolly good. That's what this says, jolly good, eat up. Please try it. Just take that book and simply make out your food preference sheet for your own family, and then think of putting these techniques to play, okay? God bless. Oh, thanks so much. Don't forget, springboarding, that's the name of the game. You ready for the extra meal? Good. I'll tell you what we're going to do now is remember all of what this is about is to be able to have the grains to do the work, to do the work that you actually do just once, and do all that grain or do all the steaming, then take it and put it into a bag, flatten it out so that you can actually have it in your refrigerator so as to make lots of space for it, and then put it in and defrost it and just have it on the side. Now, what I want to do this time is to make a soup out of this. So you take a couple of, that's a whole pint of those grains, and stir those into a gorgeous soup base. And I'll show you how to make that in a flash, all right? Take a tin, it takes 37 seconds to open a tin, of low salt red kidney beans, all right? Drop those in as well. Now the kidney beans make up for a little of the protein that is lacking in the other grains. They make it a complete protein now, all right, called a complementary protein. We put that in there, and raise the heat up high, and then put some Swiss chard on the top. Just a couple of cups of Swiss chard. That's the red, the scarlet Swiss chard, or strawberry chard as they can sometimes call it. Put that on the top there, put a lid on the top of that, and just bring that up to the heat. That's all you have to do. Now, and it makes a whole meal. This is what I did. I took a can of no, salt beef stock and put thyme, peppercorns, cloves, and parsley in that, as normal way that we normally do. And then took 2 carrots and a clove of garlic and that size of an onion, chopped those up, fried them off in a little oil, just 1 teaspoonful of oil in the bottom of the pan, and then put 2 tablespoonsful of tomato paste on the top. Stirred that all in until the tomato paste started to darken a little bit, and then simply poured the stock on the top of it. Now, here it was a little hot paprika, and simply added that until you said, hey, I've had enough. And that's all that happens. When you've done it, you find that you've heated all the ingredients together. It's come to the boil. You actually allow the Swiss chard to be like a garnish to that. And then you take it up and serve that into a bowl. Now, it's a cold night. You need nourishment, but you need to know that you're feeding your family with the best there is and that you did it for them yourself. I tell you what, it tastes wonderful. It's hot already. God bless. Enjoy life. And just a quick PS for you, Tess. I understand that our recipe arrived at exactly the same time that you seriously put your back out. And I'm sorry about that. And I certainly pray that you'll be back and on your feet again, because we want to know how you feel about the recipe. I'm dying to know. It is quite delicious, by the way. Time to do the washing up. Happens to all of us. God bless you.